Welcome to Northwest Profiles, a look at people, places, and events of interest in the inland Northwest.
The hills are alive with the sound of music.
Did she say the sound of music? Not in these hills, pal. In fact, these are more than just hills. These are mountains. More specifically, the Bitterroot Mountains, a rugged yet spectacularly scenic mountain range that bridges the border between western Montana and northern Idaho. Here, the fresh mountain air is alive with more than just the wondrous sounds of nature. And no, it's not music.
Oh, look, a tunnel! A tunnel!
Welcome to Cycling Paradise, better known as the Route of the Hiawatha, a breathtaking 15-mile bike trail that winds its way through the Idaho side of the Bitterroots on a legendary section of abandoned rail bed. Legendary because this rail bed turned bike trail was once part of the remarkable Intercontinental Railroad from Chicago to Seattle. Built between 1906 and 1911 by the Milwaukee Road Railroad Company of Chicago, the Pacific extension of the Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul rail line was historically significant for a variety of reasons. To begin with, given the forbidding terrain of the chosen route, this last section of Intercontinental Railroad ever built took nearly 9,000 men and a record $260 million to complete. Later, following one of the most devastating forest fires in recorded American history in 1910, the Milwaukee Road decided to electrify several long stretches of their main line. By the time the electrification was complete, the Chicago, Milwaukee, St. Paul, and Pacific was the longest electrified mainline railroad in the world.
On the old Milwaukee Road.
Beyond all that, it was the Milwaukee Road who in the mid-1940s introduced the American public to high-speed train travel with the advent of the 100-mile-per-hour Olympian Hiawatha.
Running the full length of the car, the Superdome, where everyone is welcome, has comfortable seats for 68. The Dome offers full-circle views of the countryside that add immeasurably to the enjoyment of your trip.
The Olympian Hiawatha served the public well until 1961, when declining ridership forced the Milwaukee Road to eliminate its passenger trains. From that point on, the railroad would become primarily a freight carrier, phasing out along the way its electric locomotives in favor of diesel. Gradually, the once proud Milwaukee Road would decline until it was compelled to file for bankruptcy in 1977. 3 years later, in 1980, the last train west of Butte would pass through, and eventually, after salvage operations, the decades-old Chicago to Seattle rail line was abandoned. It would stay that way until the early 1990s, when a grassroots organization out of Wallace, Idaho, sought to preserve the trail as well as some of the extraordinary tunnels along the Bitterroot line. They focused primarily on the infamous St. Paul Pass or Taft Tunnel, which burrows for 1.7 miles under the Idaho-Montana state line.
The Taft Tunnel Preservation Society loved the big tunnel, and they were concerned about what was happening to the tunnel. It was being allowed to deteriorate. So they actually started lobbying the Forest Service and their congressmen and senators, and were able to get some funding that was earmarked to improve this trail so that we could allow some kind of travel on it.
With both federal funding and private donations secured, the U.S. Forest Service in 1997 began the process of transforming some 15 miles of the most scenic railroad grade in the country into a world-class rail trail. As expected, there were plenty of challenges.
The surfacing is one thing. It was pretty rough, large rock and cobble, and there are places where we've added surfacing. The tunnels themselves had the rock falling, some of the snow sheds, which are at either end of the tunnel. A few of those actually had to be removed because it was just too expensive to actually rebuild those. The big tunnel had water going through it, and they had to find a way to drain the water. The trestles didn't have any kind of railing, and now they have cable railing. Everything was kept as authentic as possible, but we had to make it safe, and it did take a lot of work.
Today, the transformation is complete. The trail that was once the route of the speedy Olympian Hiawatha now provides its visitors with a first-rate outdoor experience.
People come from all over the world to see this. It's quite well known, and there's very easy access. The East Portal trailhead is just 2 miles from I-90 on the Taft exit in Montana. This is an incredibly unique bike trail because it has 7 trestles, 2 of which are over 200 feet high. There are 9 tunnels to ride through, and it's 1.7% grade, so it's a nice ride down the hill.
Well, what people like most about this trail is they're really stunned by the natural beauty that's out here. This is truly a backcountry experience. Besides the flora, okay, there's quite a bit of wildlife out here. People always see deer. If you're lucky, you get to see a moose or a bear on the trail, and usually riding up the shuttle, they get to see moose out here, and they're just thrilled to death to see this, as well as the abundance of history that goes with the trail with the interpretive signs.
Whether you're riding a bike or hoofing it, the magic of the Hiawatha Trail for many lies in its ability to provide a pleasing dose of exercise and nature, while at the same time gently weaving in a measure of rich rail history as well.
Most people ride it starting at the East Portal, coming off the Montana side. And there was a large substation there when this railroad was electrified, and you can actually see remnants of these various things. And as you work down the trail, there's the old stanchions from the telegraph poles and the electric poles and the signal poles and whatnot. And on a lot of the trestles, you can see what we call gallows that actually have where they hung the trolley lines from for the electric trains. And there's all kinds of little jewels and gems all along the trail. All one has to do is keep their eyes open.
Much of the trail's fascinating rail history is revealed along the route with the help of 46 well-placed interpretive signs. These signs were designed to provide historical information, as well as capture the spirit of life on the railroad.
One of the interesting stories that is interpreted along the trail is about an Italian railroad worker who, during the 1910 fire, along with everybody else who was working along the line, got on some work trains, and as they were approaching one of the temporary trestles, the wood trestles, it was on fire, and he decided that it wasn't going to make it, and he jumped. The train actually made it. Everybody else survived, but he died. And the railroad buried him at that particular location, and we've placed an interpretive sign along there.
From healthy exercise to communing with nature to exploring history, the Hiawatha Rail Trail experience offers something for everyone, regardless of age.
This is kind of an egalitarian approach to bicycling. Riders age 5 to 85 can easily ride this trail, and it's designed really to be ridden at leisure. So you want to be able to stop and read all the interpretive signs, take a chance to gawk off the tall trestles, take some time, look at the rock and the cement in the tunnels and whatnot, right? Have a picnic lunch, enjoy the trail.
Nice lunch?
Open from late May to early October, the successful operation of the Hiawatha Trail is the direct result of a public-private partnership between the U.S. Forest Service and the Lookout Pass Ski and Recreation Area. Through a special use permit, Lookout Pass operates and maintains the trail, providing trail marshals, bike rental, and a shuttle bus.
Everybody have a good time out on the trail? Yeah. Terrific! All right.
For many who spend the day riding the route of the Hiawatha down from the Taft Tunnel, the bus ride back up the trail is the perfect ending to a 15-mile day filled with plenty to remember.
We want it to be a special experience, and it is, but we want it to be free of litter, we want it to be clean, and we want it to be safe, and we want them to have a really good time.
If you have a story idea for Northwest Profiles, send it to KSPS TV, 3911 South Regal, Spokane, Washington, 99223. Northwest Profiles is a presentation of KSPS Public Television.